Okay. Probably just about 1 minute and we will go ahead and get started. And yeah. Well, at first, just like Carrie said, unfortunately, Frankie can't be here today, so we will definitely miss her. But we wanted to welcome you all to our March Ford County ROSC Council meeting. So welcome, everyone, and glad you can make it today. We really appreciate you taking time on this early morning to get here. And I think I heard there might be a couple other people coming in, but just so we can stay on track on time, we'll go ahead and get started. And just again, want to welcome everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Carrie when she's ready.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. We are excited to have you here on our meeting today. We are going to start by just doing some brief introductions with one another, and then we will dive into an impactful conversation, or hopefully it'll be an impactful conversation today. So, Barb, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, I know you
Yes.
off the meeting, but go ahead and take it off.
I forgot to do introductions. Yeah. So, yep, haven't had my coffee quite yet, but Barb Brumlevy and work at Chestnut Health Systems. I'm a community health specialist working here on Ford County ROSC, and I also help out with the McLean County ROSC. And I'll go on over to Carrie if you just want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Carrie Knapp, Associate Director of Community Health, working on the Ford County ROSC, and happy to be with you today. All right, we'll go ahead and do Grace and then Tim Nuss.
Hi, I'm Grace Irvin. I'm a prevention coordinator with the Logan Mason ROSC, just here to observe.
Thanks, Grace.
My name is Tim Nuss. I'm with the Ford County Board. I represent District 2 and all of Ford County. Like I've said, I'm here to observe and do anything I can to help the cause in Ford County. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Tim. It's wonderful to have both of you on here today. All right, Donnie Gill. Oh, Donnie, for some reason we can't hear you. If you're having audio issues, feel welcome to put your information in the chat. Thanks for being here today. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to Cammie and then Jeff.
Good morning. I'm Cammie Garrison. I am the technical assistant with statewide ROSC through Chestnut Health, and I am here to help out in any way that I can.
Thanks, Cammie.
Morning, my name is Jeff McFadden. I'm the System of Care Coordinator for Bridgeway's West Central Illinois ROSC. I do very similar stuff to what Carrie and Barb do, and I'm just glad to be here with all of you lovely people. Thanks.
We're glad to have you on here today, Cammie and Jeff. All right, we'll move on to Jeanette and then Mr. King.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Community Resource Specialist for Recovery Supports for the Logan and Mason ROSC. And what I do know is that you guys are doing some amazing things, so I love to come and learn. So thank you for allowing me to join.
Thanks, Jeanette. Happy to have you here today.
Dave King. I'm the Community Outreach Manager for Carl Health, and I sit in on several ROSCs just to see how I can be of support and learn what I can. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to have you on here. All right, we'll move to Jennifer Gomez and then Jennifer Anderson.
I'm Jenny Gomez with Carl. I'm a community outreach worker, and I'm here to learn and support.
Wonderful. All right, Jennifer Anderson.
Hello, Jennifer Anderson. I am the Director of Ford County Probation and Court Services. Nice to meet everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here today. All right, we'll go ahead and transition to Joanna and then Tristan.
Good morning, everyone. Joanna Gonzalez, ROSC Coordinator for IDHS Super, and excuse my terrible voice this morning.
No problem. Thanks, Joanna.
Good morning, everyone. Tristan McGrew. I'm serving with Recovery Corps and also supporting Logan Mason County ROSC with Jeanette and Chestnut, and just here to observe. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Tristan. We're glad that you're on here today. And then last but not least, we have Diamond.
Can you see me? I don't know if it
We
works.
sure can.
Okay, good. Hi, I am Diamond, and I'm the Regional Administrative Assistant with Birth to Five, Illinois. And I'm just here to basically listen for the strengths and the needs in Ford County and hear what resources and things that you guys have to offer.
Awesome. Thanks, Diamond. We're glad that you're here today.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that did not get to introduce themselves that I accidentally overlooked? All right. I think we got everyone. We'll go ahead and transition to our conversation today. Again, we welcome you to our March Ford County ROSC meeting. This is month number 9. It's so hard to believe in the fiscal year. But again, we are very grateful that you guys are here today, and we look forward to discussing our stigma reduction campaign a little bit further. But in addition to that, just providing some updates on upcoming events and available trainings within the community. And then, as always, we'd love to end our time today by hearing from each of you on the great work that's happening within your agencies and the work that you have been up to. So today, what our plan is we are going to recap our February meeting, where we really had a lot of great discussion around, again, our upcoming stigma reduction campaign. We had a lot of strong feedback and discussion, and we're really hoping to continue that conversation today. Our team has been pretty active in developing a strategic plan and outreach plan. We have had the opportunity to work with Logan Mason ROSC with Chestnut as well in this process, so we have been very grateful for their support. But really, it's through each of your insights that we have really been able to put this initiative together and this plan together. And we welcome any new ideas to the table today, but also encourage open discussion, really to identify ways that this campaign can be the most successful, specifically in Ford County. So today, for the next couple slides, we're going to provide just a quick recap of the last meeting and just providing some of those key takeaways that were a result of some of the questions that those breakout groups were able to answer. So for that first question and the first recap today is, in what ways are you seeing substance use disorder stigma present itself in Ford County? So some answers included, overall, we noted that alcohol tends to be a more accepted substance versus other substances within the community. It was also noted that the community may have a difficult time noticing the recovery changes that have occurred within the community. We know that there's a lot of great work happening, and there has been a lot of great work happening for several years now, but sometimes that's hard for the community to directly recognize. We also noted that maybe Gibson City tends to be more accepting of recovery, but maybe some of those smaller towns tend to have higher rates of stigma, and kind of breaking that down might be a little bit more difficult. We also recognize that there is a lack of understanding around substance use disorder, especially with recognizing that this is a disease. It was also noted that social media tends to be where a lot of stigma is seen, right? And that is something that we are thinking through in our outreach plan and our communication plan for this stigma reduction campaign, is what parts of social media can be specifically targeted, right, to address that stigma. And then lastly, the group recognized that many folks have internalized stigma, whether they recognize it or not. All right, the second recap question is, in what ways is stigma creating barriers to access resources throughout Ford County? So some of those answers included individuals are not asking for resources, or maybe they're not seeking out treatment or meetings or support groups, potentially due to that fear of shame or judgment. We also recognize that there's a clear gap in lack of harm reduction efforts and medication-assisted recovery, or MAR, supports. And we also recognize that there's a stigma around harm reduction efforts due to those preconceived notions that maybe some folks have. The third question is, how can we encourage open and honest dialogue about substance use disorder in our communities? So again, folks at the February meeting really highlighted the importance of persons with lived experience, or PLEs, sharing their stories and their successes with recovery, and how can we continue to bring that more to Ford County. It was also identified the importance of bringing in panelist discussions of persons with lived experience and allies for recovery. We also talked about maybe creating more events where folks can come together to talk about substance use and recovery while sharing ROSC information and some of those materials. And then lastly, helping folks recognize that they can support open and honest dialogue by being an ally for recovery. And that fourth question, this was a question that many breakout groups did not get to, just due to the sake of time during our February meeting. But it was mentioned that people in higher positions, or maybe the change makers, can really drive positive change for combating stigma. So today, what we're hoping to do is kind of transition to a large group discussion. Again, we welcome any additional feedback on any of those previous questions that we just recapped. But we also have a few more questions to ask each and every one of you today of how we can continue to enhance this stigma reduction campaign and make it the most beneficial that it can be, specifically for Ford County. So I'm going to go ahead and transition it over to Barb, and she's going to lead us in a large group discussion regarding these 4 questions that you see on our screen. Oh, Barb, you're muted.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Carrie. I've just been talking to myself here. So I just wanted to thank you, Carrie. And like she had said, we would love to open this up into a large group discussion. So hopefully we'll get some thoughts and ideas and things going here. But the first one I wanted to focus on are what strategies have been accessible to combat stigma, and which ones have been less successful. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go through the 4 that we want to discuss, and then maybe we can just go back and try to jump in here and start discussing. So the first one, just about strategies that have been successful, not successful, maybe that you've used in any of your agencies or in your own life, or whatnot with friends and family. How can we measure the impact of our campaign, and how will we know what we are doing is working? So that's a big one to kind of think about. Let's see, how do we want to specifically target PLEs, people with lived experience general community and healthcare. So I need to start thinking about how we want to target, market, etc. And then aside from social media, where should posters messaging be put up? So there's a lot here, but let's go back to the first one. And but anyone can jump in with any thoughts or ideas. But again, has anyone used any strategies that they feel have been very successful in combating stigma? And if so, please share. And then also maybe there's been some ones that have not been so successful. If anyone here wants to just open up about that subject, and we can try to get some talking, brainstorming going on, that would be great. Jeff? Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if a lot of people over there in Ford County know I'm here in Galesburg. It's Knox County. I think we're like 2 hours away from you guys west. But we've had great success putting a lot of our people with lived experience like showcased, whether it be at like an event or something. Now, I did notice doing some Narcan trainings of the past few weeks, if I just mention people who've been successfully had their overdose reversed with Narcan, and I talk about them, people were pretty much immediately won over. You know, they really enjoyed those success stories. So I'm thinking when I put these people in front of the people I'm trying to reach, it should, usually I've seen that it works. As far as helping combat the stigma for them. I think it worked once, and this wasn't very measurable, but we put a billboard up in Fulton County that was a person's silhouette. And it said, you know, I suffer from substance use. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a dad. I smiled at you today. And I think it was very successful. We had it up for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, I think it was. And I just really like the idea of the person in silhouette, you know, because it's basically kind of gave the idea that substance use doesn't discriminate. It can and does happen to everyone. So that's just a little bit over here in Knox County and in the surrounding counties as well.
Great points, Jeff. Thanks so much. Yeah, I definitely I think getting more people to tell their story, whether they are a person with a substance use disorder or you know, someone that has a family member, a friend, anything, the more we can you know, have people tell their story and how they have recovered, that's would be, yeah, that's great to get the audience to listen. You know, yeah, I love that. And that billboard idea is really cool. Love that. Okay, and let's see, I see Cami, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just think, just piggybacking on what Jeff said, it's like anytime you can like humanize a topic, so you give it a name and a face, and then people feel like, oh, this does affect me because I know that person. So
Exactly. Yeah, good
I
point,
just-
Cami.
Sorry, Barb, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just going to chime in, you know, something that our team has talked about, just kind of going hand in hand with what Jeff and Cami just mentioned is, you know, maybe making the message of this campaign of reframing the narrative, right? A narrative is kind of a big word, but reframing how we're looking at these individuals, right? And so really highlighting these PLEs, right? And putting a face to their story and recognizing that they are beyond, right, their struggles. And so that's something that we're continuing to think through with how that can be put into the messaging, but that's really great feedback, Jeff and Cami, and goes hand in hand with what we've previously discussed as an internal team.
Yes,
I'm on a meeting.
for sure. What about the next question? Like this to me, you know, how can we measure the impact of our campaign? And I know, Jeff, you mentioned, like, say, but for an example with the billboard, how can you really measure the impact of that? And, you know, how do we know what we're doing is working? Does anyone have good examples of that? I mean, you know, I mean, an example for me would be, you know, how do you know what you're doing is working? I mean, really, if I feel like if just one person here's the message, here's our message, or we're able to plant a seed, as I like to say it, like maybe someone's not ready, you know, for it, not ready for recovery, but we plant the seed and you never know. It can eventually grow. And anyway, but yeah, how do we measure this? Jeanette, I see your hand up. And then Grace.
Your hand.
Hey, so yeah, I'm all over it when it comes to this question because, right, this is what we want to do. And I know that we had some folks talking about how do we measure this thing. And so when I think about starting on the Logan Mason Ross now almost 3 years ago, there was a readiness in the air that the other county, Mason County, that we were also serving, didn't quite mimic or parallel. And I want to tell you, I know exactly the moment that started shifting. and so I'm talking it out to kind of be honest about that, and maybe we can capture it together as we are probably all experiencing this. But Mason County is shifting in a way where we have MAR available now that wasn't even a conversation to be had, right? Or it was poo-pooed right away, and that's shifted. And I want to say it has a huge testament to do with the one-on-one relationship building that has gone out there, and maybe even asking those other agencies, other entities, kind of what their struggles are, right? What their anti-campaign would look like, and how does that mirror and mimic each other, so that maybe there is a comprehensive message there that we, not too narrow, right? That it only focuses on one, subject, but a little more broad, so that we can really pump this thing into our communities and make it something known and familiar. So I don't know that I said anything at all other than I can really understand the frustration of how to measure those things, right? When clearly the conversation about even doing this is showing that there's conversation being had and open to taking the next step. So anywho, again, there's that.
Okay, and let's do, okay, I think I saw Tim Ashley's hand,
Yeah.
and then Grace, and then Jeff, if that's okay.
My name is Tim Nuss. One thing that we have going on for us in Ford County that's a tremendous asset for recovery is our probation department. They are sponsors like you can't imagine. They are advocates for it. Those people put it all out on the line, and they have a measurable impact on the people in our area by seeing recovery and everything else. They personally see them through recovery and everything else, and recidive rate is low because of the dedicated people they have in our Ford County Probation Department. They see the people at some of their lowest and everything else, and they are a hand up out of that area that they're in, and I can't say enough about them. Ford County is so blessed to have them in our corner for recovery. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and we feel the same way. I mean, I definitely feel like so many great things are going on over in probation, and thank you, Jennifer, for doing everything you do, and yes, I agree. So thank you for that. Let's see, Grace, did you?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So to measure, I mean, what with like the prevention side, we do a lot of surveying. So we'll go out into the community. We'll do two types of surveys. So we'll do a distribution survey. So that one really is like, are you seeing our materials? And like, do you believe them? Like, what's your thoughts on those? And then we'll do a marketing survey, which is like, again, do you see our materials? Where are you seeing our materials? What kind of materials do you think are the most impactful? What do you think is gonna come across as what are you seeing? So we go out to, I mean, like ours is really for parents at schools. So like we go to sporting events and survey parents that are coming by. So I would just, with doing surveying, we pop it on social media too to see, but like I would go to different events in town to just see if people are seeing the materials that you're throwing out.
Good idea. I love that. Thanks, Grace. Thank you. Thank you. Great idea.
And I believe Jeff had his hand raised prior to Tim and Grace. Jeff, did you have some additional things to share?
Yeah. So some of you might have heard or seen, and this covers a lot of these questions. So I'll just try to. So a week ago, Galesburg had its second naloxone test strip harm reduction machine put in. Okay. I'm in charge of like stocking it, but I really just kind of gave a number to the housing authority. So we took a picture of it to promote it. And this was Tuesday of last week was the first day it was up and operational. So I know in this last little clip, it says aside from social media. Okay. But I just have to say, I put it on social media, and in 1 week, it's been shared 103 times. It's reached 20,000 people, and it's had 140 comments. Less than 10% of those comments and reactions, like, the angry face or the guy laughing,
Mhm.
what, it's less than 10%. You're going to have negative feedback. So last Tuesday night, I got real upset about it, and being a professional, I don't want to fire back at anyone. I don't want to. So I was like, how do we combat this? Or what's my answer for that? How do I defend what I believe in, this harm reduction?
Mhm.
So I got this idea, and I thought, what about thank you naloxone campaign? I have many people here because Knox County is a big county for naloxone distribution. I mean, I know at least 6 people who are in long-term recovery because naloxone was available to them. I know a few of them, several of them have kids. One of my good friends, for instance, she's coming up on 2 years here in 1 month. She'll have 2 years. She takes pride in working at a gas station. She has 4 kids ranging from a couple of teenagers down to a baby that's my daughter's age. And, I thought, like, what if you just even took a still photograph of Lindsay with her kids, or have the baby holding up a sign that says, thank you, naloxone, or having, I also have a buddy, I won't say his name, but he's an expected father now. How about him and his wife holding a picture of the ultrasound and saying, thank you, naloxone? Because, the old me, so to speak, wants to get really upset, and that's not an option when being a professional. So it's like, how do we combat this? So I talked to Sue Tisdale and Chris Schaffner of Jolt Harm Reduction, and they're on board with it as well. And I just think it covers a lot of these questions. And I mean, aside from social media, I mean, the growth in that page, West Central Illinois ROSC, Leanne and I saw back in September for Recovery Month, like 20 or 25 days out of the month, we took a picture of someone in their recovery date saying recovering out loud since blank, blank, and blank. That was where Leanne and I saw the most growth in our Facebook pages. And I know it's social media, but it's still, it helps. Like, I mean, I think West Central Illinois ROSC gained like 50 followers, 50 some people to like our page just in the past week because of free naloxone and test strip vending machines. And since then, we've partnered with family planning to put in safe sex kits and Plan B or something that I don't really understand. But it's all harm reduction, and it's all good stuff to promote healthy living so people can have a chance at recovery. So I mean, that's just what I just, Cami is a big fan of data and numbers, and I'm on that bandwagon now as well. So it was just cool to open up the Facebook app and see kind of who was reached and where it reached people in other countries too, which I think that's cool.
Whoa, that's really cool. Thanks, Jeff. No, that's awesome. And that tagline, that thank you naloxone or whatever, I mean, that is a great thing. I'm surprised you might have just thought of a big national campaign. Who knows? So I think it's awesome.
I see Mr. King has his mic off. So Dave, do you have something that you'd like to share today?
Yeah, because I can't figure out how to raise my hand on this thing, so whatever, unless I just go like this. So
Old school, right?
I guess a few things. One, I think the thank you naloxone idea is great, and I'm absolutely going to steal that. So thank you, Jeff. And and just to say it out loud again, I know I've said this before, but I would be on that poster, I would have my daughter on that poster, and I would have my granddaughter on that poster, so, my daughter is alive because of naloxone, and I'm a grandparent, because of naloxone. So, I think that, just in listening, when we talk about trying to like combat something, it's like we're engaging in a power kind of struggle. And when I think of motivational interviewing things, um that whenever we're in a defensive or power struggle kind of position, we really don't make much headway with the person or the group that we're trying to work with. It just ends up they're pushing back while we're pushing back, and I just feel like that isn't productive. And um, the pieces that we're talking about, and I'm also going to steal from Chestnut's, community engagement, webinars that they've talked about, how do you engage communities? And some of it's one way, right, where you're just giving information. Some of it's two way, where you're actually encouraging, dialogue and feedback. And there are different venues, to I guess accomplish that. And so it can't just be, if you're talking about a campaign, my belief is that it can't just be one platform. It can't just be a billboard, right? But a billboard is great. So Faces and Voices, does this thing where I mean, at the RX Summit a couple of years ago, they had somebody present that just said the best way is to have the group that is stigmatized be in direct contact with the people that hold stigmatizing beliefs. And so sometimes when we're just putting like we don't know if we're actually reaching the people who hold those stigmatizing beliefs, but so a couple ways that I feel like that could really, help us is people who have direct contact with folks who are currently struggling. So certainly first responders, EMS, law enforcement, um, uh, and they are also, city council folks. So when we think of that, there are people who are in direct contact, but there are also people that have direct input into, policies and strategies. So, how can we engage them, in that way? And then this is just a little bit of an aside. I've never experienced it in this group, and I'm so grateful for it. But I've been in other groups where I have felt stigma because our own recovering um, groups talk negatively about other recovery groups. Like we'll say 12-step groups are, this is a true statement I've heard last week, 12-step groups are asinine because they're abstinent only, and I'm like, look, it takes all of us, to address this. So it's kind of like we don't need to eat each other, or bash each other. So as long as we can be, positive and let the facts do and this is from Jason Kilmer from, Washington University, or the University of Washington out in the Northwest, who's a prevention guy, and Chestnut uses him a lot. He's wonderful, but he just said, let the facts do the confronting. So facts that we can have, out there, let people chew on that, and then we can, establish, relationships. So like when we talk about PLEs, this is just my personal opinion, then I'm gonna shut up. I don't like that. And because I feel like it reduces us. And I've actually been in meetings where people say, well, we need to get more pleas involved. And I'm like, that's what we are now. We're just a freaking acronym, and I'm a person in recovery, so I mean, that's just my own opinion about that. But I'm like, I'm not just a plea. I have a lot of other experiences besides, my recovery. So, how can we, just, I think Carrie said this earlier about, humanizing it. How, anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, David. That was awesome. That was awesome. And yeah, we're not just please. Yeah. I feel like we are all human. Everyone is human. Everybody has something. So I feel like we could all be in this whole, we're all in this together. So yeah, I understand what you're saying about, yeah.
I'll just say one other thing. I think that, and I'm going to pick on Tim a little bit here, not pick on you, Tim, but people who have seen or experienced their own perspective change over time, so not just the person who was used substances and then is in recovery and it's like, oh, look, it's possible, but also people who maybe held stigmatizing beliefs who then talk about, I used to think this way, and here's how I think now, and here's why. When you hear somebody talk about that, you know, that's I think just as powerful as the person who used substances who's now in recovery talking about their recovery story. I think you need both sides of that.
So true. Love that. Okay, and I think I saw Jeanette's hand up, maybe.
I did. Dave said a lot of great things there, and it just really reminded me, and I don't know how necessarily to incorporate this, but as we continue to build out these ideas, I'm thinking that very route of connecting with administrators, right, and clinicians, and those who have kind of been known to be in this field where, us with lived experiences coming in kind of late to the table. We've been fighting to get to the table for so many years, but now we have the data that proves we need to be at the table, right? If we authentically want to have the most positive outcomes we possibly can. It's not about if or not, it's that we need to be here, but that we need to be here together, right? And so sometimes I think that administrators and clinicians can hear that we can do it better and I'm wondering how we can more intentionally build those relationships, right? So that we are partnering with one another, that one is not coming in to swoop and do anything more than the other, but that together we have this ability to truly holistically wrap around and support our communities, right? And so I feel like, again, I love what you say because it is when one meets the other, right? And then when us as people with lived experience are introduced to the educational component that's required for us to get in this mix, right? So there's a lot that's going on. And I feel like the change in recovery has just the last 5 years, has just skyrocketed into so many different avenues and funding that we've never seen before. So my hope is that we continuously, and we find the uncertainty even within our own recovery communities, right? That's where I feel like I've found some of the most pushback is within our own communities, which I personally wasn't anticipating. But I believe that as the conversations continue to be had and as we continue to partner, that's like my word of the day, right? How can we truly build an anti-stigma campaign? And my mind is truly partner with those that are at the table to get their input too, that we're not careful to come into the community and tell them, how to go, kind of that same attitude that we want to come along and partner. But such exciting things that's being said and kind of really seeing our transition as people with lived experience going from, like I said, fighting to get at the table to knowing our worth and our value at the table, and kind of working through that. So it sounds like we have a lot of different, plates up in the air, but I love that we're discussing them and bringing awareness to them.
Thank you, Jeanette. Yes.
I was just going to make mention, Jennifer Gomez put a pretty powerful thing in the chat, right? And she said, I think more than humanizing is unity. And I think, Jeanette, that goes hand in hand with what you just mentioned, right? That keyword partner. She said, I think when we show that we're all one community, dropping the us versus them mentality and finding a way to demonstrate that. I think that is huge. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that.
I love that. Yes.
Okay. Any other final thoughts before we transition to the second half of our meeting this morning?
For me, I guess one thing that I've always thought of it more than them and us is we are a family of people out there, and you have to take care of your family. And if one's down, the others pick them up. And that's just my way of looking at it. I was in a situation where I had a lot of great friends. I worked in manufacturing for 32 years. I saw a lot of people give everything they had with their bodies. They paid that way. And the only thing that kept them in the game was dependence upon substances and everything like that, they thought. And I'm of that age and everything else. Hey, walk it off. It's okay. And what enabled them to do that is by taking things they shouldn't have and gotten dependent upon them and everything else. So that's where my heart goes out to a lot of it that I've seen personally firsthand, but I've also seen it in other aspects of life. So it's a definite we, in my opinion. My family, we're going to take care of them. And I mean everybody in my family from one end to the other. So that's just my own thoughts.
Thank you, Tim. That was beautifully said. We appreciate everyone's perspective and insight in this conversation today. There's a lot of great takeaways and feedback to incorporate as an internal team as we continue to build this out. So thank you everyone for your collaboration and your support and your insight this morning. It greatly does make an impact for the work that we're doing. So, okay, we'll go ahead and continue to the second part of our conversation today. We are now going to transition to a topic that seems to be trending right now, and that term is sober curious. This is maybe a term that you have heard of before, but the ROSC has actually had a few folks inquire about what this term is and what this could look like within Ford County. So the best way to go about describing this definition is by taking a look at what Dr. Peter Verning says about sober curious. Dr. Verning is a licensed psychologist and vice president of mental health services at Recovery Centers of America. And he states, the sober curious movement is a growing group of individuals who opt to drink less or not at all as a lifestyle choice. The movement pushes back at the normalization of heavy drinking and stereotypes that those who do not drink are less social or have less fun. So we are now going to do a quick transition to a video on how the sober curious movement is taking part in activities and events such as music festivals. All right, I should be able to just click play here. Let me know if you're having any sound issues.
Well, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival will feature a new edition this year, the 1 million strong wellness retreat experience.
Organizers say their goal is to make sure all music lovers can enjoy the festival. Zach Labe is live from festival grounds with details. Zach.
Hey, good morning, Tamika and Amy. So, a lot of people are going to be coming here to Jazz Fest. They're going to be enjoying the music, the food, and the occasional adult beverage. But that could actually be difficult for people who are living a sober life. So, Jazz Fest is partnering with multiple groups, and they realize that this is an important thing. So, they have a new sobriety tent. So, with me, I have Tommy and Bill. So, how are you guys doing?
Oh, it's doing great.
So, of course, a lot of people are going to be coming here for Jazz Fest. Now, why did you guys have a tent like this here?
Well, 1 Million Strong is, first, it's an impact initiative to destigmatize addiction. And we want to help 1 million people find access to free recovery services through our partner in the Phoenix. I think a festival is a pretty unlikely place where you might expect to find this kind of sober supportive retreat tent. And it's important for us to demonstrate that life in recovery can be vibrant, can be joyful, and that this experience is really for everyone, free from shame, stigma, or exclusion.
And I saw that this is something that you guys are trying to introduce across the music industry. So why are you looking to do that? Why is it so important to have that partnership together?
Well, music, traditionally for so many years has been affiliated with partying and alcohol, and it's the perfect space to start to create this change. And I think because music really does shift and create culture, we're hoping that by showing up at these festivals and starting to influence this industry, that will create a wider change so that sobriety is treated more, in a more inclusive way. And people who are sober have a welcome space wherever they go.
And so people who come to this tent, they're also going to have the opportunity to have some pretty tasty drinks as well, because you guys have non-alcoholic drinks. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Every single day that we're here, which, by the way, is from the opening of the gates to the closing of the festival, both weekends, we've got mocktails here, a mocktail truck behind us. We'll be serving those all day. We have a mocktail happy hour at 3 p.m. as well. And again, the point is just to give fans an experience that lets them feel invited and included in this really amazing event. the event speaks for itself. It's a tastemaker opportunity, and we're just glad to be able to add to it.
All right, we'll love to hear that. So is there anything else people need to know about the tent?
I would say come by. It's open to everybody. You don't have to just be a sober person to come here. And we're over by the kids' tent all the way in back of Gentilly. So we're out here every day, and we want to come see you all and, you know, tell you a little bit more about what we're doing here. So come hang with us.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. And it definitely sounds like a great time to come out. They have a beautiful tent decorated, and you can come sit and hang out. If you want more information, we'll have that all available on our website, wgno.com. But for now, sending it back to you guys.
All right, sounds like there's something for everybody.
Yep, exactly.
I like that. Thanks, Zach.
Alrighty, some really awesome stuff there, right? I'm seeing some engagement in the chat, and Jeanette, I see the clapping hands and like the excitement in your face right now, right? So, you know, there are some really cool takeaways and some things that we're hoping to incorporate into Ford County, right? This is becoming more and more trending. And I think for me, a big takeaway from that video was, you know, a festival tends to be a place where you least expect to find a sober, supportive initiative or activity, right? But it's important to recognize that life in recovery can be vibrant and joyful, right? And it can be free from shame and inclusion. So awesome. Any other thoughts on that video that folks would like to take a moment to share?
Oh God, I have to. Oh, how stinking amazing, awesome, incredible, wonderful. This is totally takes the concept of the idea of being wherever we think we shouldn't be because there's humans there, right? And so I feel like that helps to remove the stigma. But I love this, and I could totally see how us as ROSC and different events happened over the summer, that we could turn that into, okay, you make sure you got a beer tent there, but you also make sure that you have, you know, the kickback sober tent, or whatever we would want to call it, wellness tent. I love that. Thank you for showing this. Never heard of it before and super stoked about it.
Thanks, Jeanette. Awesome. So Ford ROSC really is identifying ways that we can provide something similar to this in Ford County at upcoming events and festivals into the summer and early fall too. So we're in conversation with a few folks in the community to say, how can we make this come to life? And we're excited to continue bring more information to the council in the days ahead. Yes, Mr. McFadden.
No, I think that's really cool. The person who has mentored me for the past 5 years, in those 5 years, he's been in recovery, and he's probably been to at least 500 concerts, shows, festivals, and he's extremely sober, extremely clean, extremely in recovery, and he has so much fun at these things. And when I was first new to recovery, I was like, I don't know how anyone could ever do that. But then since myself, you know, a year, 18 months went by, and then now I've participated as well. And I'm thinking of it, and I'm looking at this like, I don't know. I think of like, my wife likes to go to Wendy's and get their blueberry lemonade or raspberry pomegranate lemonade or something. I was like, man, that's ridiculous. $4 for this drink, and it can't be that good, right? And then I tried it, and I said, okay, you go back around the drive-through, and I want the largest blueberry one that they have, you know? And I mean, it was so good. So if you could imagine getting to do something you enjoy that's fun at the same time as having that non-alcoholic blueberry, raspberry, pomegranate, strawberry, lemonade, you know, that would be really cool. So I could get on board with that easily.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. All right. Due to the sake of time, we are going to go ahead and move forward in our conversation today. But with this in mind, again, Ford ROSC is identifying ways that we can continue to bring these types of activities, right? Not only to festivals and things like that, but also how can we maybe create some events that have fun alcoholic-free beverages, right? Or how can we create inviting spaces for folks to come together and fellowship, right? So with that being said, we are looking at partnering with Clove Alliance to offer sober sips and self-care tips events. So this would really give ladies in the community the opportunity to come together for an evening of creative alcoholic-free beverages, learn some self-care practices or tips, engage in a fun activity, and ultimately fellowship with one another. So we are working to identify a date to host our first Sober Sips event. But with that being said, we are working on developing a subcommittee specific to creating wellness tents at festivals, but also some of these Sober Sips events. So if that's something that you would be interested in, please reach out to our team and we'd be happy to get you connected. Again, we don't have a date at this point in time established for our first one, but that is hopefully something that will be solidified within the next week, and we'll be sure to pass along that communication. Just due to the sake of time, we did have a couple Slidos scheduled for today, but I do want to give us some time for agency updates. But please know, we are looking for different venues within the community to host these types of events, right? Or if you are aware of any upcoming festivals that you think a wellness tent would be most suitable at, please feel free to reach out to our team and we would love to have your feedback around those things. All right, I'm going to briefly turn it over to Barb to discuss upcoming events and trainings, and then we'll leave a few minutes at the end of our meeting for agency updates.
Hey, thanks, Carrie. Okay, as you know, we do have the second annual All Awareness Day is coming up May 11th from 11 to 2. And we're just asking for any organizations, individuals that would like to have a table there, be part of it, volunteer, whatnot, just to go ahead and get in touch with us. And there is a flyer, I believe there is a sign up sheet. Carrie, isn't there a sign up that maybe, I don't know if we can just send it out with the minutes or
Yep,
whatnot.
absolutely. So we have a registration for the vendor tables, and that's something that we can provide.
So that's coming up. It's going to be a big fun day. It was great last year. It was the first year, and it was so much fun. A lot of things to do for family, kids, things like that. And it's just bringing awareness to, trying to bring awareness to everything, just to celebrate everyone. Okay, then we have April 12th, 2024, East Central Illinois Community Action is presenting a walkthrough health fair, and that's Veteran Square, 235 South Market in Paxton. Again, that's April 12th from 11 to 2. And then the ladies' night type Sober Sip self-care tips is to be determined. We are working on that. And we're working to do something like this, maybe quarterly, depending on how popular it is, but we're not looking to have it be a ladies' night every single time. It can be like it will be open to everyone at sometimes, but the first one we're just kind of focusing on that. And a big thing, and Jeff, you nailed it. Like when I first got sober, it sounds like when you did, like how in the world am I going to go to a concert? How am I going to dance? Like I can't go out and dance on the dance floor, without whatever. But in time you get comfortable with yourself, and that's what we want these ladies' nights, or just the sober, or what I'm talking about, these nights, these groups, to get together, to learn to socialize. Like just, it's so hard to socialize when you are newly sober. It's, at least for me, it was. I mean, I had so much anxiety. Anyway, we're hoping to make things easier and just give out tips and just have fun. Okay. And then we have some upcoming available trainings. Carrie, did you want to go over these for the CCE, or did you want me to?
Sure, I'm more than happy to. Again, just due to the sake of time, we will provide all of this information on our social media, but also in the minutes, and send it out to the council. But there are some great trainings coming through with the Center for Community Engagement and Faces and Voices of Recovery. So more information on all of that will be sent out with the meeting minutes for today. But I think with the 5 minutes that we have left, we do always want to designate some time for agency updates. We've had some really solid conversation today, but I will go ahead and stop sharing and leave the last 5 minutes for anyone that would like to share any great work that's happening within your agency.
Well, I'd just like to jump in real quick with a quick announcement. It's really not something that we're doing, but it is there's a Faith Leaders Brunch in Bloomington scheduled for April 27th, which is a Saturday. And what happened was that RUSH, which is one of the 5 leadership centers or centers of excellence funded through Super, has a mentor symposium on Monday the 29th, and that symposium is all of the ECHO participants, the prescribers who participated in the ECHO fellowship to prescribe buprenorphine. So that's on Monday, and they wanted to do something in conjunction with that, and that they had done a faith leaders brunch up in the Chicago area, so they just thought about doing it on Saturday, the 27th. And so I got involved just to help promote it. There is a flyer. To tell you a little bit about the flyer's not, honestly, it's not very informative. It tells you where it's at, but it doesn't tell you what the agenda is. The agenda, yeah, oh, great. Yeah. So the agenda basically is, and I think we've been able to expand it. So Rush is going to do a presentation that is about faith and harm reduction. So we think that's a good thing. But I suggested that Patrick Miller from Chestnut do the presentation on the Faith and Recovery Project that Chestnut is doing. So he's going to be there, which is really gracious of him to do it because he's only got a half hour, and I know he's driving probably from Southern Illinois, but it's just another way to expand resources to the faith community. And then lastly, Scott Kemp he's like the regional director for Celebrate Recovery is going to be there. So, you basically got 3 slices of information being pushed out to faith community leaders. What we're wanting in terms of who can attend is we don't want to preach to the choir. So, and we don't want just anybody and everybody to come. We want a congregational leader who has an interest in recovery. We want them to attend. So you can push this out to whoever you want, to do that. So brunch is set from like 10 to 10:45, and then programming starts after that, and it's done at 1. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave. We're excited for that. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful morning of collaboration and coming together. All right. Any other updates before we wrap up our time this morning?
I just wanted to add one thing. I think I saw Dell come on. I don't know if you were right on at the beginning, but I'm not sure if you've been at this meeting, but I just wanted to say thanks for coming to the Ford County meeting, Dell. He's part of Veterans Treatment Court. If you wanted to just do a quick little introduction, because I don't know if anyone else has met you, but thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's spring break and it's raining out. And by the time I got out of the house and got to work, I was definitely late for this meeting. But trying to get my son set up before I can leave the house. It's adulting, right? Veterans Treatment Court covers 5 counties. And so we cover McLean County, Woodford County, Livingston, Logan, and we cover Ford County. And so we've had participants from Ford County that come in and do the Veterans Treatment Court with us. We treat substance use and mental health issues, and if they complete their treatment through the VA, then their case can get dismissed. And so we look at things like DUIs, some simple maybe assault charges or things like that, as long as there's not bodily harm with it, but nonviolent crimes and with veterans, and then they get their treatment through the VA, which is out there at Danville or Peoria. A lot of their treatment is online. But if anybody's got interest in interacting with the VA, and then that's kind of what I put down also was that the harm reduction person for Central Illinois, that they cover like 19 counties. She's out of Springfield, but there's a harm reduction specialist for the VA that can help. And I will definitely type in my email here. And I would also like to come out to Paxton and set up a little table out there on that Friday and kind of get to know and meet more of you guys. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Del. We're happy to send along more information too. So you can get some information on that event, and we'd love to have you over there. All right. Tim, I saw that you were unmuted. Did you have something you'd like to share?
Just the same thing I do every month. I'd like to invite each and every one of you to the Ford County Board meetings that we have on the second Monday of every month, at 7 p.m. in the basement of the Sheriff's Building. It's my one way I can help get the word out, and we can break some of that stigma the more we hear it, and the more we hear it from different areas like that. And it would be a great help in reaching out to every part of my county through the members of that, if we can get them on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And one thing I will make mention of for folks who have yet to see it is Diamond put in the chat. She said Birth to 5 Illinois Region 9 is looking for guest speakers to speak at a meeting about mental health in early childhood, or anyone interested in a one-on-one interview to discuss the needs in Champaign and Ford County. So if you know anyone in this role, you can have them reach out to Diamond, and her, again, email is provided in the chat. Alrighty, everyone, it is 9:31, so we're going to go ahead and conclude our meeting for this morning. Thank you, everyone, for your insight and collaboration. It was a really wonderful meeting today, and great to see so many wonderful smiley faces on this Tuesday morning as well. So our next meeting is April 23rd, and that will be here before you know it. And in the meantime, we'll make sure to send out some information with the meeting minutes. The video for today will be in the meeting minutes, along with those upcoming trainings and the registration information for those. So more information to come. We hope to see many of you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.